Okay, so RouterGods. One of my sayings for RouterGods is we are the vaccine against unemployment, which means if you look at people who are currently unemployed or having a tough time finding a job, there's a couple commonalities about them. Okay, so some people can't read the FAQ and see that the maximum for this room is 10, but that's why we record this. So going back, commonalities with people who are unemployed. You probably see that their labbing skills or their knowledge is not that great. That's They basically don't know enough to succeed in the job or to get a better job. So we're here to solve that. This group is very different than other groups in that we lab a lot. So there's very little lecture except for this particular meetup. But we have a little bit of lecture in the meetups, like maybe a couple minutes, and then we just go straight into labbing with GNS3. For the CCIE candidates out there, a lot of them have their own racks, so that's fine as well. And for the CCIE candidates, we'll have a separate meeting for those guys tomorrow. So some of you have already signed up for that. We're going to have a couple major sections in this particular meetup. We're going to go over the history, the goal, success stories, some prerequisite knowledge, and some other sections. After every section, we'll have a short break, maybe a couple minutes, and that will give you a chance to go to the restroom, get a drink, and ask questions. And if you have any questions after every section, I'll stop, go ahead and ask your questions. Not a big deal. I encourage it. So I'd rather not have people just sit there passively watching the screen. If you have a question, go ahead and ask it or type it in. So just quickly, let me find out how you guys found out about this meetup. I know some of you, or a lot of you, found it through the YouTube channel. Some of you found it through the RouterGods.com channel. So where did you find it? Or how did you find it? Okay, Google. Robert, I just muted you because I could hear your typing, but no big deal. Downloaded my videos from BitTorrent. Okay. When you get a chance, just email me that link to the torrent, and so I could find it and kill it. But you already downloaded, no big deal. Okay, cool. So word of mouth, meetups, Google, all that good stuff. That's pretty awesome. History of the RouterGods group. We started about 3 to 4 years ago. It was a small study group. 3 of us were studying for CCNA because we had to get our CCNA because work wanted to become a Cisco partner. We were working at a hosting provider called Crypt.com. So this is a fairly large hosting provider on the West Coast. They are based in Orange County, California. So they wanted to become a Cisco partner, and you have to have a certain number of CCNAs and CCNPs and all that. So we formed a study group, and then I formed this meetup group so we could invite more people in the neighborhood. And then it just sort of grew after that. We started meeting at Starbucks. It grew to like 8 people. Then we started meeting at Panera Bread. It grew to 10 to 12 people, and it just went nuts after that. And then we went to online meetings, and that's where we're now at. We're almost at 600 members, people across the world, and it's just gone crazy. The goal of this group is to get you guys certified, but also to not only get certified, but when you get your CCNP, you'll actually be a real CCNP. You will be able to configure, you'll know the theory inside and out. No type of setup should scare you. We should be able to throw you into any network and you will have no problem. The people who have graduated CCNA with us or have gotten their CCNA through us, they are much better CCNAs than the other guys you've seen who've just read books and brain dumped or whatever, right? So you know, I'm sure all of you know a CCNA or CCNP even that just sucks, right? You throw them in front of a router, it takes them 20 minutes to configure RIP or something, to configure an IP address. You all know these people. Our goal is to make you much better than that, right? So that when you pass your test, it will be extremely easy. And that's because you've labbed and you've learned so much. This group is very different than others. As I said, we lab a lot. We have a lot of meetings. Well, in the recent past, in the last 2 months, we haven't had that many meetings because we haven't had any from me because I've been overseas. And what you will find is I travel overseas a lot because I make pretty decent money and I'm a contractor, and that's going to be Wednesday's talk. Is if you want that type of lifestyle, then then that is available to you. And yes, Paul has done some meetings as well. The two main people is, of course, me. I founded this group, and then Paul, which I met last year at Cisco Live. He's also going for a CCIE, so he runs some meetings as well. If you ever see a meeting that's run by Paul, to sign up for that, you have to add Paul to your Google Plus account, your Google Plus circles. So you guys have already figured out how to add me to your account, and I'm running the meeting, so that makes it easy for me to invite you. But if Paul's running it, he has to be able to see your name. Let me tell you what his email address is. Hold on. I'm just going to my Gmail on another window so that you don't see all of my emails. Okay, it's Paul at lampron.org. So that's his last name there. Okay, success stories. We have probably in the years that we have been running, we probably have 20 people pass their CCNA. Not everyone sends me a success story when they pass, but about 10 of them have so far. So we have 20 to 30 that have passed their CCNA. We have about 4 to 5 who've passed their CCNP, and in the last year, 2 have passed their CCIE. We didn't actually. They're part of the group. The CCIEs attended a couple meetings, but we didn't actually help them do their CCIE. That's pretty much 99.99% them. So the people who do their CCIE, that's all their blood, sweat, and tears that they did. We did very little to none of that. But for the CCNA guys and the CCNP guys, we definitely help them out. We get a lot of retreads, and what a retread is a person who has gone to another school, gone to a Cisco Networking Academy, gone to a community college, or gone to a private technical school, and they've learned CCNA or CCNP, but the instructor or the institution just sucked. Maybe the book sucked, maybe the instructor wasn't interested, maybe the instructor wasn't that technical, or maybe the equipment was lacking. There's different reasons for that, but we get a lot of those people, and then we help them out. So just so I can gauge, how many of you have learned some Cisco stuff at another place, another institution, like at a college or a technical school? DeVry, yes. Okay. Okay, so we have DeVry, we have Masters in Internetworking. It's pretty interesting. DeVry, we have at least 5 to 6 people in this meetup that have graduated DeVry. We seem to be quite popular with DeVry folks. self-study. Okay, cool. IT University online Groupon. Yeah, I saw that. I saw that one come up. Their half price or $99 special or whatever it was. Cisco Academy, yeah. Some of the Cisco Academies are pretty decent, others are not so great. Okay, so how we run our meetups. You can see that we're using Google Plus Hangouts. The room is limited to 10 people. We have the chat window right here. Usually I'm sharing my screen and you can see that I'm configuring some stuff. Usually I'll have a GNS3 open, you'll see a bunch of routers and stuff, and you'll configure along with me. And if you ever get stuck, you can kind of look at my screen or look at your Google Hangout screen and see what I'm typing. If you can't keep up, not a big deal, because usually most of those meetings are recorded, so then you just watch the YouTube feed afterwards. We are currently recording all of the beginner meetups in HD, so it's 720p. So when you look at the YouTube channel, some of you have already seen those videos, you can easily see the command line. In the future, we probably will transition to YouTube live events. So it's kind of like Google Hangouts without the 10-person limit. The only problem with that is that the interactivity is not that great, but at least I can stream to an unlimited number of people in HD. I just have to buy some extra equipment for that, but my account is just approved for YouTube live events, so they only approve like big guys for that. So somehow we made the cut on that one. Everyone's required to wear a headset. The headset doesn't have to cost that much. I recommend that you get a USB headset. That way you don't get the audio hum from your motherboard or graphics card. USB headsets, you could probably pick one up at the local Best Buy or whatever your local electronic store is for 25 bucks. It's not that much. You can go crazy and get like one of those awesome gaming headsets with the nice foam ear cups and stuff. Those will go for more, but you know, it's up to you on how much you want to spend on your headset. Labbing, everyone's going to be labbing. I encourage everyone to share their screen while they're labbing. That way everyone can see what everyone else is doing. You don't have to worry about embarrassing yourself, because we've all embarrassed ourselves in this meetup heavily. Like there's been times when I've been putting things in the wrong VLAN or shutting things down when I've not been, you know, I'm just not thinking straight, haven't had my Mountain Dew, and you know, my screen is being shared, everyone can see it, so it's not that big of a deal. Types of meetings, we have remote meetings, which is the one you're in. You're in a Google Hangouts meeting, you're sitting at home wearing your pajamas or nothing, or you know, who knows. And then for the people in Southern California, we have in-person meetings. They happen once in a while, there's not too often, but we'll meet at a coffee shop or Panera Bread, or what I'm planning on doing also is we have a restaurant out here called Corner Bakery, which is kind of like the competitor to Panera Bread. So that's probably going to be our go-to place in the future. And then we just had a boot camp in Bangkok, Thailand, well, two places in Thailand. Two people from the US went over. I didn't charge them anything for that. They just had to pay for the airfare and hotel. And it was pretty fun. It lasted for a week. I was kind of like their tour guide. We got in didn't get in that much labbing, but it was about 3 to 4 hours each day of labbing, in addition to the fun vacation stuff. So I'm planning to have boot camps 2 to 3 times a year, and they will be most likely outside of the country. So it will float around different areas in the world. Thailand will be the favorite. Costa Rica might be another one. If there's enough demand, we may have one in the US, but so far just haven't had any demand for that. So let's see, there's a comment here by Moises. We can also set up something here in Hollywood at one of the stages. It can provide a gear even for those boot camps. So great, thank you for that. We don't really need anything for Southern California because I'm pretty well hooked up at, I currently work at Panda Restaurant Group, which is in Rosemead, and I have access to lots and lots of classrooms here. We have tons of classrooms here, but a stage would also be cool. Also, now since I'm like I guess a big guy on Google on YouTube, we have access to Google Studios, which is their big soundstage studio thing in Playa Vista. It's basically an old aircraft hangar for me to do green screens and stuff like that. So that is available to me pretty much anytime. Don't know what I'll do with it, but they said I could use it. Okay, before we get to prerequisite knowledge, does anyone have questions about how we run our meetups, the people in the meetups, success stories, the goal of this group, or the history? So any of those sections, if you have questions about it, go ahead and type it in. If you don't, you could take like a 2-minute break while I wait for the questions. Okay, so that's a good question. So Wen is asking, looks like, will the sessions be held Tuesday, Monday, every night remotely? I like Tuesdays. This time because I'm West Coast, so Tuesdays is good, Wednesdays are good, Thursdays are good. I generally don't like Mondays because what happens on a lot of holidays is Monday is a holiday. Like next Monday is a holiday, Memorial Day, right? Friday doesn't work because people like to go out on Friday. Thursdays sometimes is difficult because I don't want to overstep. There's another Cisco group in Southern California. It's called the Southern California Cisco's User Group. They meet in Glendale, and it's every second Thursday, so I don't want to step on them. And then Saturdays and Sundays is kind of interesting because some of you belong to the New York meetup, which is very large, and I don't want to step on them. But Tuesday seems to be a favorite of mine, and 6:15 Pacific is one of the times I like, because it's a good time for the West Coast, and it's still kind of doable for the East Coast people. I know it's 3 hours later, so it's like 6:15 here, it's 9:15 over there, so people are still kind of alert. Any questions? Yeah, so Paul's meetup, he can do them any time, and actually his meetups are pretty nice because he keeps his room open, and you can just jump in there, and they tend to be a lot more free form. So if you run into a problem reading, stuck on a problem, whatever it is, just join his meetup. All right. Prerequisite knowledge. So if you read the meetup details, I don't really require prerequisite knowledge for people to come in here. You can be a complete beginner. However, if you want to be successful in networking, it's really nice to be able to know how your computer works, how a PC works, how a server works, because you are connecting all of those together when you're firing up a Cisco router and a Cisco switch. So it's going to make your life a lot easier. If you have A+, that's going to be awesome because it kind of shows, well, if you got A+ the correct way, you've put together a computer, you've installed an operating system, you've configured an IP address. You should know basic networking. I think in A+, they still teach you how to kind of plug into a switch and stuff like that. Some basic stuff, how to set up an IP. So it's really nice to have. If you don't have that, it's not the end of the world, but you're going to find that it's going to be tough, because a router and a switch, it's basically a glorified slimmed down computer with a lot of ports. So think of it as a computer that's optimized for networking. That is kind of an oversimplified way of looking at it, but that's pretty much what it is. So basic computer knowledge is very good. Would be even better if you had super user knowledge. Now, what is super user knowledge? That is, you are like the go-to guy in your family or your company that knows about computers. You may not actually be the IT person, but you know enough about computers where people come to you for help. Whether you actually know that much, it's beside the point, but you fooled everyone into thinking you're a badass. So, that's a good thing to have. You have faked it enough to gain the confidence of everyone else. Levels here, we're going to have meetups for different levels of people. So for the beginners, it's going to be CCNA. For the more advanced people, we're going to have CCNP classes. And then for the masochists, we are going to have the CCIE meetups for those guys, people going for their CCIE. The difference is that I give the beginners a lot of leeway. I tend to be a little bit more patient. For the CCNP level guys, I kind of expect them to be faster on their configs. And for the CCIE guys, I don't even have to worry. We're all kind of equals. Actually, most of them are better than I am. It's like, actually, yeah, I'll probably say most of them are definitely better than I am. So, they're kind of teaching me stuff. And it's more of a study group. So CCNA, CCNP, it's kind of like I'm guiding everyone, whereas CCIE, we're all equals. It's just a big mob. The lower levels, the CCNA and CCNP, those are always recorded. The CCIE meetups are never recorded, except for the one tomorrow. I'm going to record that one. But the CCIE study groups are never recorded. And the reason for that is if you're not going for CCIE, it's going to be boring as hell. And some of them have gone into, I don't know how many hours they've lasted. I think the record, Paul can back me up on this, 5 hours, 6 hours, maybe longer. I don't remember. I was going to sleep. So, no one's going to watch an 8-hour recording on YouTube. At least I don't think they are. Yeah. So Paul says his 18 hours. There's no way you're gonna watch that. Well, maybe you will. I don't know. Who knows? So I forgot to put in here dues. There are no dues. This thing is always free. Dues and fees, free. All right. Absolutely, completely free. You'll never pay anything, at least for the foreseeable future. Now Meetup does charge me $72 every 6 months to do this, which I think is kind of rip off. They're not really doing anything other than sending some emails out. But I just eat that, no big deal. I deduct that off my taxes. But we'll always be free for the in-person meetups. If you happen to meet me at Starbucks or Cafe Lou or whatever, whatever you buy, you're going to pay for. I'm not going to pay for it. So, if we study at a coffee house or a cafe, just buy some food and it's fine because we're taking up a couple chairs and stuff. Yep. Oh, there's a possibility, if I get to it, that we may become a nonprofit organization. So yeah, don't donate anything yet, but if we do become a nonprofit organization and you do donate stuff, obviously that will be tax-free or tax-free. So, but that's not going to be anytime soon, but we're thinking about it. Before I get into the certification soup here, any questions about the required prerequisite knowledge, dues and fees? Any questions about that? Yeah, so Paul brought up a good point, attitude. We've had, as you can see from our meetup details, we have close to 600 people now. Let me just see what we're up to. 578 or something like that. Okay, so we have 578 people in this meetup. Vast majority of them do not go to these meetings. They're just there reading the mailing list. I don't even know if they're actually reading the mailing list. So there are people who are just kind of there. They joined up and we never hear from them again. We also get people who come to every meetup. Like every single one, they're in there. Like it doesn't matter what time it is, they join that meetup. And then we have a lot of people kind of in the middle. For this meetup to benefit you, you should come in definitely wanting to learn, but basically the best way to learn is to play around with the command line. Not be afraid about the command line, not be afraid about trying new things in GNS3. You should be one of those guys that goes through Windows, so let's say we have Chrome as an example. You're looking at this screen. You should be one of those guys that is clicking on every darn checkbox and button that you see. You're like, hey, what's this menu? Click on there. What does this command do? Click on there. You should be one of those guys who's not afraid to mess up, because you will definitely mess up a lot. You should have a sense of humor, hopefully a thick skin, because you'll be made fun of once in a while. Well, the CCIE guys will. If you're part of the CCIE, you should have a very thick skin. But this is very different from the classroom. You're not going to just sit there and listen while I lecture and do stuff. You really should be typing and doing the stuff on your end as well, because I know from previous experience that there are people who are just watching me type. There are people who just watch me config and they go, okay, I get it, I know it now. And it doesn't work that way. You have to configure, you have to be typing on your end. And we all know these people, right? They think they can config and stuff, and they're just watching, but when you tell them to actually do something and type it out, they can't. So yeah. And then for those of you who join Paul's meetup, you'll definitely see he has a way of motivating people. Okay, the certification soup. Here's how I see things in terms of IT. We got 5, you can call them pillars, you can call them the ends of a pentagon, whatever, but there's 5 major pillars that people should learn in IT. The PC side, that's where A+ comes into play. The server side, that's where MCSE, well, they don't call it MCSE anymore, but the old MCSE and Linux guys. These days, VM, so knowing how to virtualize the servers and the PCs, that is a big thing. The networking side, you're here for that. You're here for Cisco, but there's also Juniper and Brocade and a whole bunch of other guys. Force 10, Arista, Alcatel-Lucent, all those guys. And then there's the security side, so the people wanting to go for Security Plus or CISP. This, from PC, server, VM, network, and security, that's kind of the direction that people go. Sometimes VM is flipped here, but that's kind of the way you want to go. I recommend people follow this because what you've probably seen is, I do know one guy, he's like, I want to be a security guy. So I'm going to get my CCIE security before all of this, right? And he did get his CCIE security. He is a CCIE, I'm not going to say his number, but this guy has a CCIE in security, and he kind of skipped all this. He's like, I don't need to know how a PC works. I don't need to know how servers work and VMs and networking. That's not necessary. So what happens here is when you tell them to implement a network, it doesn't work out very well. VLANs and trunking and knowing how servers work and knowing how VMware works and the vSwitch, it doesn't work well for him. So he does get contracts just because he's a CCIE, but they don't turn out to be very well. You put him on an ASA, he can configure the ASA, no problem. But everything else, not so great. So you kind of look at those pillars, and if you're going for networking, which you are, you're here, but also be thinking, learn some VM, learn some servers, learn PC stuff. It's not low class. It's not like you're going to be working at McDonald's if you're learning PC stuff. You should, it's good stuff to learn. VM side, Paul is a VMware certified professional VCP. He can definitely teach you some stuff there. But this VM stuff, learning VM, it's easy. VMware Player, it's free. ESX, the free version's out there. Download it, install it. If you mess up, no big deal. Click stop, click nuke it, and reinstall it. It's not going to hurt your computer. The PC side, having a spare computer you could play with, having spare computers for servers, it's going to help you a lot. And the security stuff. Security is fun, but you really should know all the other stuff before that. It'll make you a well-rounded person. So I'll just quickly talk about some of these certs because we could actually spend all night. CompTIA is a company, not a company, but it's an organization that does all the plus certifications. A+, Network Plus, Security Plus, Project Plus, Internet Plus, which is gay, but for some reason I got it. But these are kind of entry-level certs. A+ probably being the most famous of them. It's the one where you install an operating system and put together a computer, graphics cards, sound cards, that type of stuff. Good cert to have. Pretty good cert to have. Network Plus is also a good beginner cert to have. These tests tend to be more expensive. I forget what A+ is up to now, but I think when I took it was like 280 something. It'll probably be more now, but they tend to be, they're not even numbers like $100. They tend to be more, but it's good stuff to have. For the Cisco side, we have CCENT, C-C-E-N-T, and CCNA. So CCNA, the test is in 2 parts. You can take the test in 2 parts, or you can take it as one giant test. If you pass the first part, you decide to do it in 2 parts, you pass the first one, you get what's called CCENT, the entry-level guy. When you pass both parts or the big test, you get CCNA. So the most common question is, how do I study for this? Where do I begin? First place to begin is probably Cisco Learning Network. They have their CCNA page. Right? So can everyone still hear me? I got a message saying that my mic was muted. Okay, cool. So Cisco Learning Network, I'll paste this in there. So the reason you want to go here is it's Cisco's page. You can look at the discussions, which is a forum explaining everything. But in here you can get an overview of the different parts. You can get information about the syllabus, so the topics they're going to ask about. And some announcements and stuff like this. So this is the first place you want to go to. The syllabus is right here. Just to get an idea. So that's the first place I would kind of go to. The second place I would go to is I would get either a Cisco Press book or a Todd Lamley book for CCNA. Now, I don't care how you get it, whether you actually buy it or through some other means. I'm sure you could find a CCNA book somewhere. Just get on Amazon. If you have a Kindle, get the Kindle version. Doesn't matter. I like the Todd Lamley book. I also like the Cisco Press book. That's fine. In the past, Cisco Press tended to suck like horribly, but they've gotten their game together, and it's not bad. The CCNA book for Cisco Press is not bad. when I was studying, I got both. The Cisco Press book, I got it, and I got thoroughly confused, and then I bought the Todd Lamley book, and it helped out. If you're tight on money, then just buy one of them. Now the reason it might be good to buy two is the two books explain things differently. And I definitely know like the subnetting chapter is definitely explained differently. VLANs, it's explained differently. So Cisco has kind of a way that they teach things. It's very obviously it's Cisco centric. So Todd Lamley is different. If you're going to be studying all the way up to CCIE, I suggest that you get a Kindle. And the reason for that is Kindle versions of all these are significantly cheaper. Sometimes they are 75% to 80% cheaper than the paper version. And that's going to add up. Now the cool thing about buying the Kindle version is that if you have an iPad and then you install the Kindle app on your iPad, once you buy it here on Amazon, it syncs to all of your devices. And you can even read it on your computer if you want. So if you're going for CCIE, get the Kindle or an iPad. It's a lot better than carrying around 50 billion pages of books and PDFs, because you're going to definitely get PDFs. All right, so as far as CCNA, we talked about you're going to go to the Cisco website, Cisco Learning Network, you're going to get yourself a book. Then there's a couple forums you want to go through. The best one I like is Tech Exams. There's some other ones out there as well, but Tech Exams here. Then you go to Cisco and then go to CCNA, and you can ask your questions there. Of course, there's the forum, the official forum in Cisco Learning Network there if you want that. But there's lots of free resources out there. You guys found the RouterGods YouTube channel. That's there. I'm definitely not the only game in town. If you go to YouTube, there's Keith Barker. He's also very good. Good old Keith, currently teaching for CPT Nuggets and another guy. Yeah, he's a member of this group. So good old Keith Barker. Wow, 21,000 subscribers. Holy crap. That's a lot. So Keith is good. There's another guy that does courses. Dan's courses, I think he is. There you go. He teaches a lot more than CCNA, but people have emailed about him. So there's lots of resources for CCNA, lots of free resources out there. So with the book, you don't have to buy anything too crazy. Buy the book so you can read it. Go on YouTube. YouTube will explain everything. If you want, you can go to CBT Nuggets. Buy their courses. Video training, there's another vendor out there. Oh, sorry about that. Wrong abbreviation. INE, Internetworking Expert. So INE is famous for CCIE training, but they also have CCNA stuff. And what's really cool is they have an entire CCNA course. So CCNA right there. They have this, and they offer it for free. The entire CCNA course for free. Video training. So let me just paste that in there. And it's badass. They do probably the best video training out there for CCNA, CCNP, and CCIE. They're offering this for free. You have to sell your soul and give them your email address, and obviously they're going to want to sell you CCNP and CCIE courses in the future. Um, you know, that's kind of what they want to do. But as far as CCNA, if you just want to watch the CCNA videos, absolutely free, like for real free. So tons of free resources out there to help you out. Community colleges with a Cisco Networking Academy. Those are also very good. Not necessarily for the instructors, but for the gear. So there's a local college here in California, Coastline Community College, and also Pasadena Community College is another good one here that have excellent gear. I mean, we're talking multiple racks of gear, and they have open labbing day where you can come in on a Saturday or a nighttime and just screw around with stuff. Instructors, for the most part, are also good, but it's variable. Some of them are good and some of them are not. And honestly, I have been told that some of them, through members, that just some of them don't care. Hopefully not, but you know, that's what I've been told. Community colleges tend to be very inexpensive. They used to, when I was in them, they were like $11 a unit, but now I think it's significantly more, like 30 something, 40 something, who knows what they are now, but California's kind of in a little cash crunch. But community college is definitely it. And then of course meetup groups. You found me, and then in the East Coast there is the New York meetup group. So you can join them. Good group, fairly large, almost 400 people now, run by William. He's actually a CCSI. In Chicago, there's the Chicago meetup group. Rocky Mountains, those of you guys who are in Colorado, they have that one. Another cool one, Silicon Valley. I'm jealous of these guys. Silicon Valley Cisco user group. I don't think anyone in this meetup is actually close to San Francisco or Silicon Valley, but if you're ever in the area and in time for their meetups, go up there. Here's what's cool about them. They actually meet at Cisco headquarters. And every Saturday, well, not every Saturday, most Saturdays, they have an open lab day. They use Cisco's racks at Cisco headquarters. That's why I'm jealous. So you can imagine the gear that they have. Also, they have something that's really cool is they do a hot seat. So if you think you're ready for CCNA, you can schedule a meeting, and basically you get grilled by all the other members to see if you really can pass CCNA. So they'll tell you from there whether you're ready or not. So you think you may be ready, you sit in the hot seat, and maybe you completely bomb it. Maybe you should do some more studying. Yeah. Paul says, that's my job in this group. That's true. That's definitely good. Okay, so this group, very jealous of them, but they're good people. I wish we had access to that type of gear. Oh, I forgot. There's one more resource that I love out there, RouterAlley.com. RouterAlley.com. This guy also teaches Cisco courses, but what I like him for is he has these guides here, and he has all these PDFs for learning different topics, EIGRP, firewalls, just all types of good stuff here. RouterAlley.com. Aaron is a good guy for putting all this out. And then the other guy, you may have found him, is Packet Life, Jeremy Stretch. He's a network admin, and he has an awesome blog, and he's got these cheat sheets. If you go to library, cheat sheets, they're these 1 and 2 pager PDFs, so we'll go to EIGRP. It's basically these study sheets with commands and stuff like that. Pretty good resource. I first found him because I was looking for connectors, and he's got this cheat sheet for like all the different connectors. And the reason I was looking is It was like my first time playing around with fiber optics. So I didn't know the different fiber optic connectors. So I was confused, like LC and SC, like the hell, right? I know some of you are like, oh, I know that. But when you're first playing around with it, you don't know crap. And it was confusing because, someone was explaining that LC is the smaller connector and SC was the larger connector. But you're thinking like S is small and L is large. So you don't want to think that. And so looking at this PDF, it made sense. Everything made sense after that. We all have to start somewhere. And so get those resources if you want. If you're willing to spend the money, it's not going to be that much. Get a couple switches, old Cisco switches. If you don't have the money, packet tracer. If you find that, very good. GNS3, also a very good study aid simulation. You can get by with just the book. Actually, you could get by without spending anything, just finding packet tracer in GNS3. So it doesn't have to cost that much. Before I go on to the other certs, any questions about studying for your CCNA, the different certs that I talked about up here? Any questions about that before I move on? Okay, so practice tests. Usually when you buy a book, there's practice questions and stuff in there. You can find practice tests on the web, like official practice tests. We stay away from certain websites because the practice tests actually turn out to be brain dumps, and I definitely don't want you guys to brain dump. But yeah, the practice test, not a problem. Any other questions out there? Okay, so after you pass your CCNA, there's different CCNA specializations if you want to get them. We got voice, security, service provider. So to get those, you need to have CCNA, the basic CCNA. There are rumors that this will change in the future for one or two of them. Who knows? Yeah, there's wireless and data center and all those other ones. So the reason most people get the CCNA specializations is because they are required now for the CCNP specializations. So that's kind of the path people take. Now CCNP, just like CCNA, you can get CCNP wireless, CCNP route switch, the most common one, CCNP voice. Whereas CCNA is one big test or two small tests, CCNP tends to be 3 tests, at least for route switch. It used to be 4, but now it's 3. And then CCIE is the big kahuna. CCIE actually doesn't have any prerequisites. You could take it cold without CCNA or CCNP. Some people have done it. You've got 2 parts. You've got a written and a lab. Written is easy peasy, not a big deal. $350. And then you have 18 months to take your lab, and the lab is the 1-day, 8-hour ordeal with most people fail. $1,500 pass fail, and that's the big kahuna. And we'll talk more about that tomorrow. Study tips. Oh, well, we did most of this. So I have a saying that I tell everyone: every day you're not studying, someone else is. Okay, so I'll answer this question after this part. So every day you're not studying, someone else is, which means If you're at work and you see someone who you think is not as good as you in terms of networking, and you say, okay, well, I don't need to study today and tomorrow and the next day, and you kind of get into that routine where you've gone through a couple weeks that you're not studying. Now this other guy, let's say he's just picked up a book and he's maybe not, he's not as smart as you, he's not as quick as you, but he is studying. Eventually what's going to happen is one day you're going to come to work and he's going to be better than you. And it's going to be one hell of a shock. So you want that for yourself. You want to be the guy that's studying every day. And then one day someone's going to look at you and say, wow, that guy knows his stuff. Or one day you've studied for several months straight. You take that CCNA, you pass it. And then people are going to be looking at you going, wow, he got that CCNA out of the blue. Whereas you really didn't get it out of the blue. You were studying for it all that time. Okay, try to lab every day. Try to read every day, but try to lab every day. You lose your labbing abilities very, very quickly. The CCIE guys know this. We have to do all these different technologies, and by the time we get to the end, we're labbing BGP, and we forget RIP. Or we're doing IPv6, and then we forget frame relay, something really simple as frame relay, because we lose it. And I know this just as like everyone. If I stop for 2 weeks labbing and I come back to it, it's really tough. You definitely lose it. Definitely try to be playful when you're labbing, be curious, try different commands, and use question mark a lot in the console. And study as if you're going for CCIE. Even if you're not going for CCIE, still study for CCNA and CCNP as if you were going for CCIE. Study every little nuance, every switch, every option that there is. Know why it works. Never type in a command just to type in a command. I'll give you a good example. I'll give you an excellent example. So in RIP, people teach router RIP, no auto, version 2. And then you enter in your network command. If you don't know what those commands are, don't worry. It's not a problem. But some of you already know what these commands are. So when they teach this, a lot of times they say, when you start router RIP, type in no auto in version 2. And they may explain in a couple sentences what no auto in version 2 is, but they never actually get into it. They just say type these 2 commands in. Now if you're going for CCIE, you better know exactly what no auto in version 2 is. You would learn what happens if you forget those commands, because you're like, oh, okay, what happens if I forget version 2? So this is what I mean by studying for your CCNA, just as if you're studying for CCIE. So when they tell you the no auto command, rip that apart. Look it up in the Cisco documentation. Learn what happens if you don't put that in, if you forget it. Yep. So let's see, we got 2 questions here. Blaine says, I thought with the new CCNA that specializations only needed the CCENT. Well, let's see. That could be possible. So let's see, it says CCENT, CCNA, that could be it. Any valid CCENT, CCNA routing or switching, or CCIE. Oh yeah, if you have CCIE, let's get CCNA voice. Yeah, so it looks like you're right. So CCENT will count, and then of course regular CCNA will count as well. So Wen has a question, can you give us some study tips of time management while we work long hours? Excellent question. I forgot to put that in. So I'll fill that in, time management. Okay, so I know most of you probably do like a 9 to 5, 9 to 6 job like I do. Then you have a commute back home, you're tired as hell, how do you actually study? So here's a couple tips. What I do, this is not for everyone, but what I do is, so when I go at home, I have a lot of distractions. I have a desktop computer that I play video games with. I'm sure some of you have an Xbox 360 or a PlayStation. You have a lot of distractions. You have kids. You know, lots of stuff that can throw you off track. So what I do is, as soon as I come home, I go to a specific place in my house, a specific room that does not have that computer. It's just a desk. That's all it is. It's a desk and a power outlet where I can plug in my laptop. That's it. That desk, all I do at that desk is study. So laptop comes out, I'm GNS3ing, I'm in there. That's it. And that forces you to kind of subconsciously, when you sit down at that spot, you want to study, you want to read, you want to lab, you know, and you need to get your family on board. You need to tell them that, hey, when I'm here, I'm studying. Don't bother me. I have found out that when I'm on the desktop, I can open up GNS3, but in a couple minutes I'm going to be on YouTube and God knows what else, playing EVE Online or whatever, Diablo 3. It's just too tempting. So I picked a spot away from the desktop, and it's that's my study area. That spot right there, it has shitty Wi-Fi. It's slow Wi-Fi. I don't even have a network drop in that spot, so it's great. I'm not tempted to plug in a cable and go, oh, let me download something or whatever. Another thing I tried, it didn't exactly work for me, but may work for you, is wake up 30 minutes early. Wake up 30 minutes early and just spend that time reading or something. It's tough. I tried it a couple times. I didn't like it too much, but that means you have to sleep early if you want to wake up okay. One person told me what he does is he bought one of those folding tables from Costco. Those white plastic folding tables. Let me see if I can bring up the link here. Kind of like a picnic table. Table. Yeah, these things. That's an 18 pack, but it's one pack is like 40 bucks or whatever. It's just cheap. So one guy, he told me that he bought one of these tables and he put it right beside the bed with a chair. Before he goes to sleep, he puts a book there with a bookmark. As soon as he wakes up, he just rolls out of bed and he's reading. 30 minutes, an hour, whatever. He said that really helped him. That's pretty hardcore. I can actually see that that would work. Just roll out of bed and start reading. He said the first 4 days kind of sucked, but after that it was fine. It was automatic. So that's kind of like my system too, where I have the desk and all it is that's my study desk. Nothing else goes on it. Your wallet doesn't go on it. Your keys don't go on it. Just your laptop and your book. That's it. How much, study time management, 1 hour per day. If you can keep it consistent, it's fine. You'll eventually get there. I know people that say, well, I don't study Monday through Friday, but on Saturdays I do 8 hours. That's going to be tough because you're going to forget everything Monday through Friday. You're going to spend the 8 hours on Saturday. You're going to spend 3 of them reviewing everything. For notes, keeping notes, Evernote is great. I've moved everything to HackPad. So, it's just different ways of studying. Some people use an Excel spreadsheet to keep track of their study times. I've done that before. So you can do an Excel spreadsheet and say, from today I read pages 1 through 20 or whatever. A Kindle is very good because it keeps track of how much you read. It tells you the percentage and the number of pages you've read and how many pages you have left to go in that particular book. So it kind of turns into a game of how much you can read. So that's why I like the Kindle. And there's no actual secret to studying after you've been working a long time. You're going to be tired. You're going to be tired. That's the way it goes. Now, when do you have a long commute? Like, what time do you get home? Dear God, 12 a.m. What time do you leave work? Okay, so in your case, that doesn't leave much time to. So lunchtime is going to be your time. So I know it's tempting to eat lunch with coworkers and stuff like that, but in your case, you're just going to have to, yeah, at lunchtime you grab your books or whatever and find a corner and study in. It's funny, we have in our CCIE group, there's this guy, Anthony, he works in Australia, and so he joins our study sessions. He takes a lunch in the closet of his work. So he finds a closet and he moves his laptop in there and he labs with us. It's kind of funny. But, you got to do what you got to do. I know a guy here at work, at lunchtime, he just grabs his CCNA book and goes somewhere. Yeah, MP3s are good. MP3s are great. Yep. So we can have a separate meetup later for study tips. We could go all day about study tips, but also after you learn the stuff, don't just learn in a vacuum. Do something with it. Put your knowledge to use, meaning if you learn something about VLANs, find a switch right away, whether it be at your house, a spare switch, at work on a safe switch that's not going to kill anything, and see what happens. Don't just read something and then think you'll remember it. Read it and then actually try those commands or try something on a real piece of gear. Also, try to go to other, we talked about other meetups, but try to go to certain conventions. Try to get into the tech field. Start going to these places so you can network and get motivated. My first tech convention was Internet World. That convention's dead, but it was Internet World at the LA Convention Center. And the reason that was good is I saw how much money was being put in tech. Routers and switches and wireless and all that stuff, and that motivated me to get all my certs. All right. GNS3. So we use GNS3 is the main thing we use. Who here does not know what GNS3 is? Okay, so Moises, do you know what VMware is? Okay, so VMware, you know that I'll just fire it up. Just hang on for a second. Hi everyone, looks like you could see me. All right, so everyone knows VMware. Right here I'm running Windows, and then VMware I can run Linux inside of VMware. So I'm running a Linux machine. I could run Windows inside of Windows. So basically, my CPU is being split into multiple sections, time slices, right? So what I do inside of Linux Mint doesn't affect my Windows box. So, and GNS3, it's basically VMware. Think of it as VMware running Cisco gear. So you're able to run Cisco routers inside of your computer, kind of like in a little jail cell. So I'm going to show you right here. So there's GNS3. It does run on Mac. Now what I suggest to people is that you run GNS3 inside of Linux and inside of a virtual machine. It'll be faster. If you screw up your virtual machine, it's not a big deal. So it tends to be cleaner. You can play with a lot more options without destroying your computer, but it runs just fine in Windows as well. So this is GNS3. Usually people have this part open. I'm going to drag in a router. So there's my router. I'm going to click play here. And then I'm going to open a console. All right, so here's my console, and it's acting as if I was directly plugged into that router with a console cable. So I can do commands here, just like on a real router. Right? So it's faking out my CPU into thinking that I'm running a Cisco router. And depending on my horsepower, I can run lots of routers. I could run, I could run a whole CCIE topology, a CCIE troubleshooted topology, 30 routers and switches if I wanted to. So yes, it does run on a Mac. Is there a best practice on setting it up? Yes, there is. I have lots of videos about that. You should get a computer that's fairly powerful, load it up with RAM. If you have 8 gigs of RAM, that's fine. Quad core, dual core, that's great as well. If you have a solid state drive, that's also very, very good. These days, the GNS3 install is pretty easy because it comes as an all-in-one installer, gns3.net. Actually, the main guys of GNS3, he's in our Meetup, which is pretty awesome. So I've got YouTube videos that tell you how to install this, but basically you go to download, get the all-in-one, and download it. If you're on Mac OS, download the appropriate package right there. And if you're on Linux, you'll go for that. And actually on Linux, it's even easier because you could do just a yum install apt-get and find GNS3 if you want. So those are for the Linux guys. Okay, so let me get through Moise's question. So he's got a couple more. Is there configs or templates that I need to run? So when you get GNS3, when you first install it, it's pretty blank, right? There's nothing here. You can start it. You can make your own topology by dragging stuff in there. But for our labs, eventually what's going to happen is I'm going to give you preloaded configs. So what a preloaded config is, I'll be sending you .NET files. So I've got my projects folder, Narvik. So there's these .NET files that GNS3 will load in, and they will load in a full topology of like 6 routers. All the IP addresses will already be configured and stuff like that. But when you're first starting off, you're going to do most everything from scratch for the first several weeks. That way you learn how GNS3 works, you learn how things are typed in and stuff like that. So yeah, it will preload the routers and switches if you have it set up that way. But in the beginning, you're just going to drag stuff in. Okay, so let me finish with Moises, and then I'll get into the difference between GNS3 and Packet Tracer. So what flavor of Linux do you recommend? I like Linux Mint, which is built on Ubuntu. So Linux Mint is on version 14 now. I've got this running on version 13. The Ubuntu that's out now, I don't particularly like it. They moved into a really too user-friendly interface, almost Windows 8-ish type. So I don't like it very much, but right now Linux Mint is the one I want. But you know, when you're running VMware, you know, download 6 flavors of Linux and see which one you like, and then just delete the ones you don't. So Linux makes it very easy for you to play around, or VMware makes it very easy for you to play around with Linux. Okay, so Ram has a question. What's the difference between GNS3 and Packet Tracer? Oh man, there's a big difference. Packet Tracer, I guess I'll fire it up here. Packet Tracer for a lot of people is more user-friendly. It's actually made by Cisco. It's an official Cisco product. And the routers and switches are down here, and you drag them in. And they've got wireless devices. They got a plethora of stuff here. And it looks similar here. So I just dragged in a router. If I double click on it, I could put in modules, and I've got a command line here. Now the big difference here is that this command line is severely gimped. A lot of the commands, especially when you're going to CCNP and CCIE, are not there. Versus when you're in GNS3, technically you are running the real router. You have the exact iOS image. In fact, you could rip the iOS image from an actual router, throw it inside a GNS3, and it will run, usually. With Packet Tracer, you're not actually running the exact iOS. It's more of a simulation. You know, you got most commands. It will definitely help you pass CCNA, but I really wouldn't use it for anything past that. Now, as far as switching, it's got some pretty decent switching stuff in Packet Tracer, but once again, you'll go a couple levels deep and you won't see a lot of commands in there. So for CCNA, Packet Tracer is just fine, but eventually you want to move towards GNS3. Right, Moises and Aram, does that answer your questions? And do you have any more? Yeah, and I recently put up a video called Top Secret Study Tips with GNS3. You might want to watch that. I kind of walked through the way I set up my VMware in GNS3 to make it really super fast. So when I study at home, so for CCIE, I have to do a hell of a lot of labbing. And any second or tens of seconds or a minute that I can shave off from opening up VMware is very, very useful. So what I do is I have this on snapshot, so I can right click here and recover from snapshot, and it'll take me to a point where GNS3 is already open, so I can get up and running in about 5 to 6 seconds from there. Then I have the SSD, and I've got all these neat tricks that I do to make everything really, really fast. And eventually you probably want to get to that point where you want to study with GNS3, click, click, and everything's up and running. Okay, let me screen share another screen. Get back to this guy right here. Okay, we're almost over. I'm navigating RouterGods.com. So you found RouterGods.com, hopefully. And some people don't know all the stuff that's in RouterGods.com, so I'm going to explain it to you guys. It's my recent review of Narbix Bootcamp. So we have a directory of videos. If you go to watch, you'll see that this menu comes up and you can go to particular sections. So if you're interested in OSPF, go to OSPF. If you're interested in GNS3, go to GNS3. Static default routing, go there, right? So all this does is when you click on there, it takes you to a playlist in YouTube that's the same stuff. BGP, you click on there, and then we have the other stuff on the right-hand side. All right, so those are the training videos. This tab right here, training, we have our FAQ here, calendar. So most of you know what the calendar is. The calendar is a Google Calendar of our upcoming training sessions. You can see the same thing in meetup.com. Class notes I put on there for links to, so most of you guys probably found the CCNP stuff. I made PDFs for that. Past sessions, these are links to the past Hangouts. Right. Now for the guys going for CCIE, this troubleshooting section right here, this is for the troubleshooting CCIE topology, which is just insanely massive. Did that download link work? Well, that's broken. I gotta fix that. And that's probably broken too. Okay. There we go. Gotta remember to fix that. Resources is the next place you're going to go to. I'll start from the right side and go left. Essential apps. These are the applications that I love to use. This is like the super user section. So, 7-zip, Create Writer, Daemon Tools, all this stuff. So this is not necessarily networking stuff, but this is getting your computer working great. Pushing your personal computer to the limit. And I don't have a link to Ninite, which is another thing. So for those of you guys who are going to buy a dedicated computer to study for Cisco, when you first set it up, don't be a noob and go to every website and download the stuff you want. Go to Ninite, check all the crap that you want, like Chrome, Skype, Evernote, Air, VLC. Check all the ones you want. Then click on Get Installer, click on that, and walk away from your computer and come back in 20 minutes. It will install all the lists for you, and it will answer no to all those annoying windows that want to install the extra crap on your computer. Use this at a company. You will be the hero of that company if you're installing PCs. This is badass. And then if you pay them, if you want to get Pro, you can get an installer that you could put on a server, and it will pull the file information from a server. You could throw this on every computer, 30 computers, click on that, walk away, have lunch, come back, all 30 computers are great, are done. So that's just an extra tip. I do have a YouTube video about Ninite.com. So essential apps right here, under resources, job search. For those of you guys who like using Craigslist to search for work, so some of you know that Craigslist is a pain in the ass because you have to go to each particular location and type in keywords. I did that for you. So if you're looking for a job in Chicago with the keyword of CCIE, just scroll down here, click on Chicago, CCIE, and it pulls that up. So very easy way of searching through Craigslist. And I did it by, I looked for the top 13 or 14 largest cities in the United States, and I used them as the template. Under resources, INE practice generator, you don't need to worry about this. This was just some stupid script that I wrote. So basically what it is INE puts out those CCIE workbooks, and they have different tasks. So let's say I want to practice 5 things today. I put in the number 5. It's a script that says, okay, do this problem, do that problem. So it kind of randomizes stuff that forces you to go to different sections. That way you're not stuck in the same section doing OSPF over and over again. It's kind of cheesy, but it's there. But the main thing is GNS3 topologies. This goes back to your question, Moises, is that you go here after you install GNS3, and these are all the topologies that we use in this meetup. So topology 5, 3 routers in a line, 5B, 3 routers in a triangle, CCNA, CCNP, CCIE stuff. The CCIE guys go to this stuff right here. And the Rackspace stuff, this is if you're going to run your routers inside of Rackspace Cloud. All right, so you don't have to reinvent the wheel, just download this and do a couple modifications and you're off and running. I'm not the only website that has practice topologies. There is a website called GNS3. Let's see here. It's some easy name. GNS3 Vault. That's it. GNS3Vault.com. And they have topologies that you can download as well. Pretty good website. Any questions about navigating the RouterGods.com website? Okay, we're coming up to almost an hour and a half. Let's take a couple minutes break, like 2 minutes. That way you can stretch or go to the bathroom. And when we come back, we're going to go over navigating our YouTube channel, and we'll finish up with some miscellaneous stuff. So let's take a 2-minute break, and I'll be typing in the chat window, so just hang tight. Okay, we're back. Looks like we've already covered most of this. We just have to talk about our YouTube channel, and then we'll open it up for questions. So YouTube channel, you guys have probably gone to it. You can see that it's got videos, not just of routers. Okay, so the way to navigate this YouTube channel, if you go to the main page, it's kind of convoluted. The recent uploads are up here, so you can see this is I just put up a video about fixing crashes in GNS3 when you run NAT. That's because people don't give it enough memory. So those are the most recent uploads. Scroll down here, we got playlists. You probably want to scroll down here to GNS3 and some others. But another way to do it is you click on videos and you get this is a chronological order from beginning to end. Now if you click on this icon right here, this icon on the right, it's going to put it in a top-down list. All right. Now if you want to search, what you're going to do is you're going to click on this icon right here, which is the hourglass. Click on search, and let's see how good it is. Let's say we're looking for BGP. Type in BGP, and you're there. Right? These are all the ones that have been keyworded with BGP. All right, so there's not much to actually search into the RouterGods page. Playlists, you could click on playlists, and that has things divided up into sections. So 9 videos about packet tracer, a couple videos about security, QoS, VMware, all that good stuff. So this is where it's broken up into. Some people found that they like the RouterGods directory a lot better. So go to watch, and then this is, I actually like it too. The organization system inside of YouTube is pretty crappy because they prefer that people search chronologically, more on a blog type format instead of organizing stuff easily like this. Any questions about navigating the RouterGods.com webpage or the YouTube page? If not, hit me with any other questions that we haven't gotten to. Okay, so that's a good question. Moises has a saying, in terms of the next meetup, what do we need to have up and running? Okay, you need to have a headset, preferably USB headset. You need to have GNS3 installed, not necessarily set up, but at least find GNS3 and install it, because we will take you through setting it up. If you want to be ahead of the game, I would like you to have a router image, really prefer that you have a router image somewhere on your computer. So the router image you want to use is the 3725 iOS image. Now you see that my autocomplete has given me a couple suggestions, but what you want to do is Google for the 3725 iOS image and throw that on your computer somewhere. Now the reason I'm not telling you exactly where to find this is, Cisco doesn't necessarily want you to have this image for free. So, but I'm sure if you can use Google, you can find that image. Whatever website you go to, make sure you have your virus scanner up, or you could do it inside a virtual machine. That way, if that virtual machine gets owned, you don't really care. So you need a virtual machine, and that's pretty much it. If you have 2 screens, an extra screen for your desktop, that helps a lot for these meetups. If it's only 1 screen that you have, that's okay, but really, if you have a little bit of money, just plunk down for another screen, or steal one, or do something. But that's, you don't really need that much for this next meetup. And I will be scheduling a CCNA meetup pretty soon. So it won't be next week, because next week has Memorial Day is messing it up, but it'll probably be the week afterwards, so in 2 weeks. So it will be something about setting up GNS3. Yeah. But if you want to get ahead of the game, I got tons of videos about setting up GNS3. Any other questions? So I thank everyone for taking their time and joining. I thank you guys for joining this meetup group. You guys have taken a pretty big step. You guys actually follow directions for the most part, because I only let in people who put in their first and last name. I'm killing about 7 out of 10 people who try to join because they didn't read those directions. So you followed them. It's very important that you follow directions in this group. So thanks for that. And stay tuned for those meetup announcements. And meetup.com. There's other guys, but when you go through the meetup.com page, you guys figured out how to join. Also keep in mind that the Hangout room is limited to 10 people. So when you see that invite come up, just click join. I know a lot of people couldn't join this meetup directly, but it has